Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Hahn, and this is the 53rd episode of the podcast, Guided Self Healing, Fearless Living. And this is also the end of all of our podcasts on the book, The 1 Hour Miracle. And we've come now to the conclusion of the book. And so the conclusion of the book and this podcast is called Ending as Beginning. So, what does that mean? It means that we've come to the end of one road, but we're beginning another. And for some of you, what that means is that you now actually may see if you can begin to do healing work this way, either, as someone doing the work for yourself, or if you're wanting to guide other people, or if you want to come into therapy and, do sessions with someone who has been certified in life-centered therapy. So worlds open up. Maybe you've heard all these podcasts and you say, I'm going to take a leap and see if I can become more whole and live more in alignment with life and really live my destiny, both as an individuated living aspect of life, which means I get to play my role unafraid with unconditional love and full engagement, which is what we're about, is full engagement living, uh, while realizing on a deeper level that all of us are involved in the same journey and that ultimately we are all one. And again, the metaphor that really works for me biologically and holographically is the idea that, we're like there's a mystical idea that we are cells in the body of a living being called life. And on the surface, each one of us is profoundly, different. No two of us are the same, not even if we're identical twins. But underneath it, we all must be the same because the template is the same. In cells, that's what we call DNA. And DNA holds all of the information of everything that has ever happened, both in terms of our species and in terms of our individual life. As they say, our individual life replicates what happens with our species, and all of it is held in this one little strand, or these two little strands, right? So you could take one of them, and if you're a cell in a body, you can create the whole body because all the information is there. And if we're a cell in the body of life, then all of the information is in each of us. So each of us is in relationship with life. Each of us is in relationship with each other, and we are on the surface different, but underneath it, we must be on some level one. And then, of course, ultimately, we are life itself. All of the information is here. If we can not identify with the surface, but just know the surface is something that something much deeper is experiencing. It isn't who we are. We have no identity. We aren't nouns. We are verbs. We are energy. We are flow, and we are centers, and we are evolving fields. It's like we're not something that's dense. We just are living, you know, something that is an illusion. But we don't have to identify with the illusion. We can get behind that mask and find out a deeper knowing, a deeper truth, which is what we're about anyway. How do we do that? It's easy to say, it's hard to do, but easy to say, which is when we can just accept everything, all parts of our being, because we're all everything. So we're all multiples and multiples upon multiples. And when we can say yes to every aspect of our being, then of course we can say yes to everything that seems to be outside of us, but really isn't outside of us, because we are all of it. So when they say love your neighbor as yourself, it's really like saying on one level, love yourself, because your neighbor is yourself and everything is yourself. And when you know that, and you know that all parts of you are yourself, there's nothing wrong. There's only that which hasn't been revealed yet. And everything serves life. even those aspects of ourselves or others that we have the greatest aversion to on the surface, because we know in some deeper knowing that's beyond any rational knowing that everything on that level serves life. And that, of course, doesn't mean on a human level that we aren't accountable and responsible. We are. But what we're truly accountable and responsible for is being able to say, I will face the things that I'm most afraid to face within myself. And I will find a way to say yes to all of it, even those aspects of myself to which I have the greatest aversion, because those can be my greatest teachers. My deepest core fears about myself are just a black hole that is pulling me. Now, the only question I have, free will, is do I use all my energy to try to get away from it because it's the thing I'm most afraid to experience about myself, or do I turn into it and discover that this black hole I've misnamed, but it's really a doorway to the divine. It's a doorway to all of life. That if I let myself be pulled into it, we know that gravity, we are pulled towards each other, because even I exert a slight gravitational pull on that black hole, which is everything. So we long for each other, and we long for union, and that black hole longs for love, because when it brings us into it, it actually becomes more. And there's more love, and then there's more life. And that's the whole point of all of this. It's an extraordinary thing. And then, we get to see something. We get to see who we truly are, which is whole or healthy, right? We remember who we truly are. We heal. We're whole. We're everything. We remember this, and that's an extraordinary thing, to remember who we truly are, so that we can say yes to everything. And, when we can face our deepest fears, there is love. We are drawn to each other. Gravity is the metaphysics of love, attraction. We long. We long for more love. We long for union, to return to who we truly are, to remember what we've always known, but which we have forgotten. So that's the story. And we all can do this, One of my favorite stories is that we had a 17-year-old high school student who came to one of our workshops, and she got, paired up the second day of the first weekend of the training. We start practicing quickly. She got paired up with a very senior, mental health professional who had degrees and had done everything. And that healer looked at me like, "You're going to send me off with a 17-year-old girl?" Like, made a face. But I had muscle tested, and I found who was prepared with each other. And yep, I said, "Yeah, you guys are going off." And an hour and a half later, the woman comes back and she says, "This is the deepest healing I've ever had." It had never occurred to her that body sensations were living beings that had a story to share. It had never occurred to her there was no such thing as pathology, just stories that were to be shared that she wasn't aware of. And it certainly never occurred to her that those stories could be stories where she wasn't the main character, however you want to understand that, but that someone else was the main character and she was living out someone else's story. So it was a revelation. She said it really was as deep a healing as she'd ever had. And the 17-year-old girl said, I can read a protocol. I can follow a protocol. And so, there's beginner's mind, and it's like, you just say, okay, I can follow a protocol. It's all laid out for me. So that's extraordinary, right? That, this healer who'd been doing so much healing said her session with a 17-year-old girl was the most extraordinary she ever had. I will tell you, I've been a licensed clinical psychologist for, I don't even want to think how long, 37 years as of this podcast. And I've been doing this work for almost 30 years, and I still am learning, and I'm still growing, and I am not a realized being by any stretch of the imagination. I just get closer, and it's like climbing the mountain, and it's the journey of a lifetime, really. It is the journey of a lifetime. The 1 hour miracle becomes the journey of a lifetime. But the miracle is that each step you get closer. That's the miracle. Each step you get one step more free and one step more, closer to being able to live authentically. But, it's also exhausting. As my co-author Joni says, it's like climbing a mountain. And each step up, the air gets more thin, and the backpack gets more heavy, but there are less goods we have in it, so we have less resources, and the mountain is getting more vertical, and we can't see the summit, but we can look back occasionally and say, look where I came from. Look what was down there. That's where I was, but now I'm here, and I don't know where I'm going, but I know how to get there. I'm going to keep climbing, and the way to keep climbing is just to say yes, yes to all of who we are, which is not saying yes to all of our actions, right? But the thing is, the freer we are, the more we have choice about our actions, and we don't have to live out, things that really are on the surface harmful to people because we haven't done our work. When we don't do our work, we're stuck, and we play out, horror, because we're all victims, we're all perpetrators, and ultimately, what we all are is people who are trying to be free. So that's the whole point of this whole podcast. That's why I call it Guided Self-Healing, Fearless Living. Fearless Living says, I will face everything, and I will do it with a sense of inner peace and a sense of knowing that there is a mountaintop, that we can get there, and to know that there is beauty in all of it, even the things that on the surface seem most ugly. There's beauty even there. That's the promise. So we're coming to an end of this part of the podcast, but from now on, we're going to go into other things. I want to talk about collective trauma. I want to talk about what is truly needed for transformation, and 7 steps for transformation, which will be our next book. I want to talk about really how to be in relationship with your fear and the ways we block ourselves from doing it, and what happens when we are able to do it. I want to have demonstrations. I want to do work, and anyone who wants to work, just write me and I will do a session with you. And I want to have conversations with other people so that we can all join together and learn from each other, because as they say, and the one thing we can do that unity can't do, when 2 or more are gathered, there is love. So I've been in a relationship with all of you and relationship with myself, but I'd like to start having conversations with other extraordinary people and just see where they take us, if we have no agenda except to say, let's discover together the beauty of all of life. Let's understand it all and do it from a place of peace. So that's the hope. And we've only just begun. So again, I'm Andy Hahn, and you can find all about us at lifecenteredtherapy.com. You can find about our trainings, you can find about our work, you can find all of our certified practitioners, because people have qualified themselves. You can certainly find about our book, which I hope you all read, I think, or listen to, because you can read it, or you can get it on Kindle, or you can get it auditory. All of these things are possible. And of course, if you write me, I will respond. And I just want to thank anyone who's been listening, because it's been such an honor having this chance to talk with you and to have finished this part. So we're going to go for discontinuous change, and who knows where we'll go next. But what we do know is the end of the book is now done, and it's been out for a couple of months, and a bunch of people are reading it. I have no idea how many, but if you've read it and you like it, please tell me. And we can be in a conversation together. We'll all learn from each other, and we'll all grow together, because we're all heading to the same place, each in our own way. So, my dear friends, Hahn at lifecenteredtherapy.com, and be well.